Good day and greetings from the Great Way North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 298 of a year of change. We are 2 days away from day 300. Still have no idea what I'm going to do. Not a single clue yet. But today I kind of want to keep Wednesdays focused on food. I know that we've really been focusing a lot more on exercise and stuff like that, but I sort of want to keep Wednesdays set aside. It's probably going to be more than just Wednesdays. I want to have at least one day where we can still sort of talk about food, because especially where we're just sort of getting started, and I'm sure things will even out by the end of it. We'll get back into, hopefully anyway, find some good documentaries, which have been really tough to find, new foods and stuff like that. But we've really been focusing a lot on the exercise portion of it, just because we're sort of starting things off again. But food has been such a huge, important part of our lives for so long that I don't think it's, number one, I don't think it's fair, but I don't think it's wise either that I don't think it's fair or wise, I should say that, I should clarify my sentences, that we simply just push it aside and say, well, food is done, now we're going to move on to exercise, because we aren't. The struggle with food, yes, when we are foraging out in the woods, the struggle that we have with food is going to be there for a very, very long time. When you even get used to doing regular exercise and even if you're going every day, that food is still going to, that food issue, I should say, is still going to be pulling at you. So I don't think it's really smart that we just sort of ditch it while we're doing this stuff. Now that Wednesdays, we generally would do either a new fruit or vegetable or a different type of food or a healthy thing, something like that, or a snacking alternative is what it really started out as. But, that's going to evolve. It's sort of changed back and forth the way things have been going anyway. But today I sort of want to talk about something that happened on the weekend that didn't really even dawn on me until today, which is really kind of weird. And it sort of goes along with our perception of food. Not perception, that's stupid. Our reaction to it, I guess. That's not even quite right either. Okay, I'll explain what I'm talking about. During the weekend, I had my gaming session with my friends. I go out every couple of weeks, and we had skipped the holidays, so it's been like 3 or 4 weeks. And generally, that's the day that I go, okay, you know what? I eat reasonably throughout the day, and then that night, when I'm with them, then that's when I have my snacks. Those are sort of my cheat days, for lack of a better term. It's not really a full day, it's a cheat evening. And I go over. I went over this weekend. Not as bad as it could have been, but pretty bad. So, but it's different because when I end up I logged anyway, 6 little donut hole things. And I know I had more than that, but I wanted to get it to a point where I'm over my calories. And then after that, it's sort of I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to track absolutely everything to see just how bad it's going to be, because I know it's going to be terrible. But, so I log until it's over, and then I go, you know what, there we go. I know I'm positive I had more than 6. Anyway. It's within around 6 people, so it's a little bag, so it's not going to be that I had like 14 dozen of them or anything. But in my head, I know, like, around 6, I feel comfortable accounting for that. So, but normally when we are eating something like that, there's a whole slew of emotional, issues that come along with that. We're never just eating going, oh, these are good. Because in our head, we're going, these are good. I'm a fat shit. I shouldn't be eating these, and just non-stop eating. And that's what I used to be like, is that even like around people, I normally wouldn't have anything to eat. And then I'm more of a closet eater. I would come home and just stuff myself to capacity. So 6 little donut holes is nothing. I think I've told you actually, at one point I had eaten an entire dozen donuts by myself. I've eaten entire cakes by myself. I've eaten entire pies by myself. I've eaten entire pizzas by myself, multiple pizzas. Had a full 12-inch pizza with like extra cheese that I put on it and pepperoni and everything else. And then after that was done, cooked another one to a point when I just couldn't eat anymore. It's so weird thinking back to, like, that wasn't, oh, I had a binge. That was my regular day-to-day eating habit. My eating habits now still aren't terrific. I've really got to sort of fight to stay on track, but thinking back to that, it's just shit. But the main thing that I want to talk about, actually, I'm going to try to stay on target here. This weekend when I was doing that, afterwards, there's still that feeling, like there's always going to be some emotional attachment with the food anyway. And for the most part, it's going to be guilt. But it's a different kind of guilt that sort of goes along with that. It's that, I've done really well. I don't want to ruin all the work I've done this week. And then you think, is one night going to do it? And you're like, I don't know if it's going to. But you know what? I'm not going to go overboard to the point that I'm sick. But I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to sit there and go, I want another one, but I can't have it. If I want another one, I'll have another one. It's only one night out of every 2 weeks, generally. And it's just that evening, and it's shared among 6 people, so they usually have other stuff there. It's obviously not great. It's going to be something that will undo some of the work I've done, but it's not enough that I'm going to, gain 6 pounds the next week. So there's that weird feeling of guilt where you think, I really shouldn't be doing this, but okay, I'm going to have some. But it's a little easier to get to that point where you say, you know what, no, that will be going overboard. If I have more, that's really going to be going overboard. I think I've had enough. I think I'm good. And so you can sort of stop for the night and things are okay. You might still want some, but in your head you're like, yeah, it's probably best if I don't. It's a little easier to sort of resist that. But in the past, it's a different kind of guilt that goes along with that. As you're eating, you're not thinking, I don't want to undo this and I'm going to get fatter and I should really start, exercising more. There's a deep-seated self-loathing that goes along with that as you're eating. It's, whether it's in front of people or by yourself or anything else, that it's, I can't believe I'm eating all of this. I can't believe I ate the whole thing. I can't believe I'm eating more of these. And then, that feeling of, God, I'm a fat shit and I hate it. I feel horrible and I'm just weak. I don't have any willpower whatsoever. I'm going to be fat for the rest of my life. I'm going to have another one. And then you have another one. And that's generally how it goes, that there's that self-loathing which pushes you to eat. And then, of course, you eat and then you hate yourself more, which pushes you to eat again. And it really is like an addiction. But it's one that you absolutely hate yourself for. It's like if you were addicted to punching kittens in the face. Like, if that was your thing, and you're just like, I hate myself for doing this. And every time you see a kitten, you're just like, whap, and smack it in the face. That same sort of, for all of you out there that are watching this that have never been fat, this is roughly what it's like, where you absolutely despise yourself for what you're doing. You know that it's wrong. You know that you can control it just by going, you know what, how would I not punch a kitten in the face? And yet we still did it. Some of us still do it. Like, if you're still struggling with this, then, I think all of us are still struggling with it. In the long run, I think that I'm going to be struggling with this forever. It's never going to be a moment when, I'm not tracking anything and I don't need to exercise and I'm just having a regular meal and I'm not thinking about it. Because I think at that stage, then I'm just going to start gaining again. It's because, I've got a lifetime of bad habits to try to, they say, well, don't break them, but change them. It's the same fucking thing. I've got a lifetime of bad habits to try to change, and the only way I think I'm going to be able to do that is if I'm making a conscious decision every single day to deal with it and say, okay, I can't go out and eat this way. Physically, I don't think that a lot of us can eat that way anymore anyway. I think that if you had a day where someone said, all right, this is what you used to eat on a daily basis. So you're going to take the day, this is what you're going to eat. I don't think any of us at this point would be able to get through the full day. I really don't. The that mental desire to do it, I would imagine, is still going to be there. And you go, yeah, fucking challenge accepted. I'm going to have 2 pizzas. I'm going to have 3 plates of nachos. I'm going to have 4 burritos. I'm going to have 6. Or no, I don't think I ever ate 6 at once. 4 hot dogs at once. I think it's the most of, no, probably 5. I'm going to say 5. Or the most hot dogs I've ever had. And then I'm going to have a dozen deviled eggs. And then I'm going to have, a couple of bags of chips. I'm going to have some popcorn because that's healthy. And then I'm going to have a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm going to get a pound cake and eat the entire thing. In our head, I'm sure that we could think, yeah, I could probably do that. And I'm not challenging anyone to do this because this would be extremely stupid to do. But I think if someone was to lay out all that food that we would eat in the run of a day on a regular basis, just sort of an average, how we were eating a year ago. Although I think you might say, you know what? Yeah, I could still do it. I don't think any of us would get through it. Because I still notice that now, like even when I have something that's even when it's healthy, and I go, you know what? I'm gonna have this much. This is a good size serving. It's a little big for a serving, but I'm gonna have that serving. And even now, then every now and then, I'll find that I've taken too much. Although I'm not forcing myself to eat it like I normally would. And even with things like vegetables, I'm just, no, I'm going to try to be okay. Obviously, we're going to falter from time to time. You're going to overeat at some point. You're going to eat something really shitty. But it's so different now because if we do that, like this weekend, I had half a dozen donuts, effectively. They're like the little donut hole things, but still, they're half a dozen sweet things. And although I go, in hindsight, I think, you know what, I shouldn't have had that. I should have had something a little healthier. But almost immediately, so you know what, it's one night, and it's not nearly as bad as what you would have had as a snack. Like, that's the thing, because these are, like, I think you go over around 6:30, 7 o'clock, and it goes until midnight. So this is a 4 or 5 hour session. And during that time, I'm having stuff that is terrible for me, and I shouldn't be eating, but it's about the same volume that I would have had in a 10 or 15 minute span every 10 or 15 minutes for the majority of my life. And just even acknowledging that, like, that sounds really weird. It sounds exaggerated, but it isn't. Like, all the stuff that I said I've eaten at one point, I have had that in the run of a day. I have bought 10 pizzas. Actually, I did that once when, after I started recording as well. Did not go over well. I didn't eat as much as I should have, and then the cat ate it. But, same cat that has no teeth now, great. But, Serge's right, fuck you. But, buying that many and, having one pizza go for 2 or 3 days is fine. Because it's a 12-inch pizza. But I would have bought, 10 and they would have been gone in 2 or 3 days. So, thinking back to just the sheer, not even the type of food I was eating, but the sheer volume of food that I was eating, I don't feel like it's like, oh, I'm so proud, I've changed, and I don't look at it and go, my God, that's amazing. I just think, and try to remember, where the hell would we have to be mentally and emotionally to get to that point where, we don't give a shit anymore. We don't care. We know how big we are. We know our clothes don't fit. We know how we look. We know how we feel. We know all the issues that go along with it, with physical health and mental health and psychological health, and which is kind of the same thing. Emotionally, there we go. All the things that sort of go along with it. And just like anything else that people are addicted to, even the people that are punching kittens in the face, it doesn't matter when you say to them, you can't just blurt out and say, obviously this is wrong and you're punching kittens and you need to stop because you're going to end up in jail or you're going to end up dead. We know all this information. And when you think about that, you think, where do we have to be mentally to know all this information, to understand it, and yet we still do it? And, again, psychologically and emotionally, we're still there. I don't think that's ever really going to go away 100%. But we're in a much better place now where at least we can look at it and say, okay, you know what? It's very bad. Like, those urges are still there, that, that desire to binge, to have all the shitty food that you can think of. But we're at a stage now where if we try, it's manageable. And I think even if that's where we stop, if that's where we end up for the rest of our lives, where no, it's manageable, it's okay. That, if you have 2 months from now, if you go out with your friends to celebrate your birthday, and there's an all-you-can-eat pizza buffet, and you end up, making yourself sick from eating too much, that's still just one day out of, 2 months that you've been going and you've been doing really well. And as long as we don't slide back into that permanently, then I think we're good. I think that's where we need to get to. The exercise is going to help, and I find that, changing how we eat and everything that we've done over the past few months, that has helped a great deal because it has turned us away from a lot of the junk food that we have. I don't have chips in my house. I don't have candies in my house. I don't have cookies in my house. I don't have any of that stuff. And it's not because I can't have it. It's because, part of it right now is because I look at it and go, I could spend $5 on cookies or $5 on chicken. I'll spend it on chicken because it's sort of a luxury item now, as opposed to having something here all the time that, that was the majority. I would always have something like that in my house all the time. There would always be some sort of chips or cookies or cakes or pizza or nachos, just horrible food. Not horrible. I don't want to get to a point where I'm like, that's disgusting. How could you eat that shit? I would still gladly eat that shit because it's awesome. That's why it has made me so fat. Is because I just drooled at myself. Yeah, num. That's why I was so fat. That's why I'm still fat. I still have like another 75 pounds to go. So it's because the food is terrific and because we enjoy it so much. That's what, I mean, we've enjoyed it so much, it's pretty much ruined our lives, right? Across the board. And to get to a point now where, we're in control of it, I think is something that you should be proud of. And I think it's something that, we need to carry on as we go. But anyway, sort of turning this into a big happy-go-lucky lecture thing. The main thing I just sort of wanted to bring up was just the fact that feeling of guilt, it's still there slightly, but it's a different type of guilt. And it's one that I'd rather have that than there isn't that same sort of self-hatred that sort of accompanies the old guilt. The new guilt now is just because you're thinking, you're kind of undoing today's work. Today and yesterday. Like, even if it's only 2 days, but then you think back and go, you know what? I haven't undone 9 months worth of work. I've undone 2 days worth of work. And, getting back on the treadmill the next day, which I didn't do the next day, which I should have done, didn't do it Monday, did do it Tuesday, we're good. So getting back on track immediately afterwards, it doesn't feel like we're starting over. There isn't that feeling of, oh, I've ruined it again. It's just, and obviously, no, we shouldn't be doing this all the time. We shouldn't even really be doing it frequently because I think it's a very slippery slope to get back to where we were. But having those moments when you think, you know what, tonight I don't care. I'm celebrating something, or I'm going out with friends, or whatever the reason is. That take that night and say, I'm gonna record so that I'm over, so that at least I can acknowledge that if you are recording stuff, so that you can hit it and so you can look back and go, it doesn't say I was under my calorie goal. I know I was over. I know why I was over. But to a point where you can still enjoy yourself, because we've always set, sort of an expectation there that it's not going to get to a point where we're eating just horrible, dry, tasteless foods all the time. We've tried to adapt a lot of what we've, adopted into our diet so that it still tastes good. It still needs to be palatable. It still needs to be, a healthy alternative, but it's something that we're going to enjoy, that we'll go back to by choice instead of just saying, well, it's more of a necessity. So every now and then, if you're having something that is bad for you, but as long as we aren't having it every single day, all day, every day like we were before, then I think we're all right. I wouldn't really schedule out sort of an entire day of cheat day foods. I think that would be very bad. And trust me, if you do that, if you say, try not to cough. If you get up in the morning and say, you know what, today is going to be a cheat day. I'm going to have my pizza and my cakes and my cookies and my candies and all the other sweet stuff that I can never have. I'm just going to eat to capacity. You are going to feel like shit afterwards. You're not going to be able to get through all the foods. You're going to feel horrible. And then there's that nice 2-day aftermath where you're going to need to go and invest in Pepto-Bismol and Imodium and all the other good things because your body simply isn't used to it anymore. We've been eating healthy for so long, so when you pump in a whole bunch of sugar, you feel like shit. When you pump in a whole bunch of salt, you feel like shit. When you eat too much fat all at once, combining that with everything else that's there, you just kind of feel ugh. And that reminder of this is how we used to feel every single day. And it got so bad that we just got used to it. That's just how we felt. It didn't seem to stand out because that's how we felt all the time. Compare that to how we feel now. Even if you haven't done the exercising, even if you've just been losing the weight and, just you feel better all the way around, you don't ache, you aren't, stuffing yourself full every single day. We do feel better, I think, in general. And it's something that we need to hang on to so that we don't forget what that's like back then. Because aside from being able to, stay away from that ourselves, that's going to help us help other people. To still be able to say, you know what, I remember exactly what it's like. I know how shitty it feels, but you still go out, you still eat again. Because that immediate gratification outweighs that long-term, horrible, gut-wrenching hatred that you have for yourself. But it's a topic for a different time, and I think that we may have already covered. But that was it. I just sort of wanted to bring that up this week. And I probably have gone way over. Shit! Just over the 20-minute mark. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video here. I think I've said what I needed to say. Probably more than once. So, I do apologize for that. But the 20-minute thing it's going to be staying. I think we've pretty much settled on that. So for those of you that have stuck to the end, thanks. I appreciate it. For the rest of you that have bailed because it's too long, I don't blame you. But for right now, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.